Hi, I'm Robin Walker with VSP Walker. Thanks for joining me again for another VSP Walker video blog. This time I would like to talk about system and process alignment. Probably some point in your history with a manufacturing company you've helped implement an ERP system. What I want to talk about is within companies, what happens to those systems after you have gone live. I think you'll probably agree with me that from the time the system went live, your business has been very dynamic. Things have changed. You've needed to change processes and procedures. You have needed to change how you respond to customers based on their requirements and what they're asking. You may have implemented new programs with suppliers. There's a lot of things that maybe competition has driven in that you need to change. The point is the business is very dynamic. And so to keep the business processes and the system aligned, the system needs to be dynamic as well. What I generally find with manufacturers that I've worked with is that they fall into two different spectrums. On one side is they look at IT as a cost center. So it is that necessary evil. You have to have it. Every manufacturer has an ERP system and we're no different. We need to have it too. But it truly is a cost system. So we're going to invest in this system. We're going to implement it. At that point, it kind of sets up like concrete, and we don't change it after that point. Sure, we might create some new reports if leadership wants some different reports, but the overall basic functionality and how we use the system stays the same. It's very static. On the other side of the spectrum, what I find is people that treat IT and systems more as value creator. So they look at it as a critical and important part of their business. And they need to utilize it if they're going to get some results. Now, if you're a leader out there, I want to give you a little different perspective as to what your users see. If you're someone who treats systems as a cost center, then from your user standpoint, what happens to them is things change, and maybe a user's process or procedure changes. Well, what happens to them if their system can no longer support that change? The user, from their perspective, know that there is no money to invest in revamping the system. That's not an option, so what do? And you guys have seen it. They create spreadsheets, they create manual systems, they create all these workarounds. And what is the end result of that workaround? Well, it's these little silo solutions that aren't integrated, they're not systemic. The other thing, and this is the real key point I want to make, the more a user has to create these workarounds with the system and not utilize the system as it was designed to do, the more time it takes them to do their job. And what I challenge you as a leader is, what does that time mean for you? It's not free. All of our workers' time is a limited resource. And time that they spend fussing with the system, where the system is managing them, the system is dictating what time it takes for them to do their job rather than an enhancement tool for them to do their job, the more time that takes, the more time it takes away from your initiatives, your strategy you want them to focus on, your projects you want improvements on, your customers that you want them to be calling on. I mean, let's face it, do you want a salesperson in your company spending 60% of his time trying to figure out how to enter orders, how to track stuff, how to find information? Or would you rather him have 20% spent on doing that and the other 40% is out there actually selling and bringing in more business? I know what your answer is, right? Okay. So time to me is the critical part. So if you are IT as a cost center, I guarantee you there's only one result you're going to get out of that system. And that is the opportunity to outlay more cash when that system stops working for you. Because here's what you might experience. Let's say you are a year after you go live. You might have started to hear some grumbling from users where they're saying, this system isn't working for us, it's a bad system. Over the years, 4 or 5, sometimes up to maybe 7 years later, all this noise, all this roar, terrible system, we got to get rid of it. You as a leader, you may not be using the system on a day-to-day basis, so you're convinced by all these people and all this noise that it is a bad system. We need to go buy a new system. And that's what I see in these companies, that they're every 5 to 7 years they're switching out their ERP systems. And what do? They implement it. It sets up in concrete. It's static. It doesn't change dynamically. They're not investing in the system to change with the business. 5 to 7 years later, guess what happens? You're going to invest again. So the only result you get is the ability to give more cash into that system. The results won't come to add to the bottom line. The overall cost of your system is going to be more than if you treated it as a value creator. And the biggest difference is twofold. Number one, you are actually going to get results from the system because the system is going to support your processes. It's going to be aligned. It's going to allow users to do their job and to create value, to focus on what you truly want them to focus on. And number two, 5 to 7 years down the road, you won't have this roar of users that are frustrated and unhappy with the system to where you need to go and change it out. So you don't have to spend $1 million+ on putting a new system in if you just invest a minimal portion of cash to get those results. Very significant difference in how you approach IT. So what I do with manufacturers is I will come in and do a technology assessment. And then in that assessment, what I'm doing is I'm looking at their processes and their challenges currently in their business and what they project their challenges to be in the future, and determine how aligned are those systems with those processes. Where is there opportunity to get more effective use from that system? From that, I can work with manufacturers to better make that alignment. But whether you work with me or you work with people internally, however you do that, what I'm going to challenge you this week to do is please make sure that you utilize that system. The system is there to help you create results. And it's up to you to allow the system and invest in the system so it can create those results. Have a great week.